how are you? It's time for another chapter of The Wizard in My Shed, written by Simon Farnaby, illustrated by Claire Powell, and read with the kind permission of Hodder Publishers. And last time we found out lots of things. We found out that the magician who Merdyn thought was Jerabo but wasn't Jerabo has now found a spell book in his attic which might have belonged to Jerabo. We found out that Jerabo and his scientist have discovered where in time Merdyn is, and have also discovered that someone has been using Jerabo's spellbook in the future. And Merdyn has had fame come knocking after his performance at the magic show. He has now become very, very famous and has an agent. So lots and lots going on. So today it is time for chapter 27 of What Fame Smells and Pinecone Spells. Oh dear reader, I don't know whether you've ever had the misfortune to become famous, but there are 3 major pitfalls to avoid if you ever do, and here they are. 1. People do everything for you. When you're famous, activities like making yourself a sandwich become a thing of the past. That sort of thing is done for you. And once things are done for you, then having to do those things yourself again can feel like a catastrophic failure. So if, for example, you had someone make your sandwiches for 10 years and then suddenly you had to make a sandwich for yourself, you'd hate making that sandwich. All that effort, the butter, the fillings, cutting it into triangles, what a pain. Whereas before you were famous, you had no problem at all with making a sandwich. Number 2, you lose a sense of the value of money. When you have lots of money, you lose the joy in saving up for something special. Say you like fish and chips and once a week you treat yourself to a nice big portion from your favourite fish and chip shop. It's a moment to be treasured and enjoyed, and you savour every delicious mouthful. But say you could afford to have fish and chips every night of the week. It wouldn't seem so special, would it? And soon you'd end up hating fish and chips. Number 3, you don't know who your true friends are. Being famous tends to increase the number of people that are around you at any one time. You might have an agent, a manager, a lawyer, a press person, a hairstylist, a wardrobe advisor, a financial advisor, a diet advisor, a fitness trainer, a 10-pin bowling instructor, a driver, a biographer, etc. You end up spending so much time with these people that you think they're your friends, so much so that you forget who your real friends are. Merdyn fell headlong into all 3 pits in a matter of days. It was oh so easy. For a start, Freddie did everything for him. Whereas before Merdyn had insisted on collecting the herbs and plants for his spells from nature, now Freddie ordered them from Waitrose in the garden centre and had them delivered to the apartment. Rosemary, foxglove, mint, parsley and clover all came in neat little packets ready to be crushed and powdered by Merdyn's personal assistants. Merdyn started doing sell-out gigs in football stadiums, bringing in untold riches. Never mind going to a fish and chip shop, he bought the fish and chip shop and had it installed in his spare room. As for Rose, she waited for Merdyn to bring her the singing spell he'd promised, but the days passed and he never came. She even tried to visit him at Clifton Towers, but once she'd got past all the screaming fans, she found herself blocked by Freddie the smarmy agent. Miz is just so busy, Rooney Freckleface. Her brother was even worse. No time, sis. Tough at the top, you know. If it hadn't been for his constant TV appearances on adverts, chat shows and variety events, she'd have forgotten what Merdyn looked like. Rose was sad about how things had ended between them, but it all made sense. What had Merdyn said to her when first they met in the woods? I am the greatest warlock who ever liveth. How jealous was he of Harry Potter's fame. And Merlin, he hated them both for being more famous than him. Maybe fame was all Merdyn really cared about. It must be, thought Rose, because now he was getting fame in spades. She was nothing to him. When she'd met Merdyn, she'd felt that everything was going to get better, but instead everything was worse. For a start, school was terrible. She thought that Tamsin would be a friend now after all the fun they'd had, but on that first Monday back at school, she passed Tamsin in a corridor, and Tamsin couldn't even look at her. Katrina had glared at Rose through her too much eyeliner eyes, and Andy had crushed an apple with a fist in a weird show of strength. Waste of a good apple, mind, but there was nothing from Tamsin. Rose hadn't expected a high five, but at least Tamsin might have said hello. Rose was more of an island than ever. She couldn't even talk to Bubbles anymore. The pinecone spell had worn off again, and without Merdyn she couldn't renew it. Night after night she sat in her room with her notebook trying to enchant the pinecone herself. She tried every combination of herb, plant and Latin word she'd captured in her notebook, but maybe she'd written everything down wrong. Primula vernum speak outside inside? Viburnum opuli? Oh! Rose wasn't surprised she couldn't do it. She wasn't a W blood, but she wasn't going to give up without trying. As if all that wasn't bad enough, Susie was even more depressed than before, especially now Chris had moved into Merdyn's apartment full time. She didn't even get off the couch to go to bed now. She just fell asleep there midway through a box of chocolates, woke up in the morning, switched the TV back on to documentaries about tragic singers and carried on. She didn't see Sergeant Murray anymore either. The love potion had worn off and he only had eyes for the police force again. Dion next door came round most days and offered to help Mum out, but Mum just stared through him and popped another piece of confectionery into her mouth. So in a nutshell, everyone was sadder than sad Sadie McSadface on a wet Saturday morning. But let's get back to the story, shall we? One night, Rose was cleaning out Bubbles' cage as usual. She was emptying her dad's poover tray and marvelling once again at his brilliant engineering. Would she ever make him proud of her? She swallowed the giant lump in her throat and glanced up, catching sight of the calendar on the wall. It was the last week of the summer term, which meant the last Mountford's Got Talented People heat was this Thursday, the day before the class trip to Stonehenge. Rose had been so preoccupied with everything else she'd almost missed it. Suddenly her regret at how she'd left things with Merdyn turned to anger. The least he could do was give her the singing spell he'd promised her. It was the only way left she could see to make everything all right again. She'd go to Clifton Towers tomorrow before school and demand to see Merdyn. And this time she wouldn't give up. She would barge past Chris and Freddie that chancer, and this time she wouldn't take no for an answer. Chapter 28. Enough blathering. Storm clouds gathering. Finally we have it, cried de Selby, the genius scientist. The exact year, month, hour, minute that Merdyn is in the future. What a triumph of science, what an achievement. Well done indeed, agreed Jeremiah Jerbo. Now I will go through the rivers of time, killeth Merdyn the Wild, returneth, marrieth Evanhard, and becometh heir apparent, killeth the king, and imprisoneth my wife for ever. Then I shall ruleth over all of Albion. Jerbo finished his little speech only to find de Selby staring at him in horror once again. Oopseth, he said. Did I say imprisoneth my wife for ever at the end of the list of bad things I'm going to do? The scientist continued to stare. Sorry, de Selby. There was now a large trace of menace in Jerbo's eyes. I'm afraid I have told thee too much. Not necessarily, de Selby stammered quickly. I don't remember hearing anything after killeth the king, which I already did knoweth about, so... Really, said the awful wizard, evidently toying with de Selby. Thou did not hear me say imprisoneth Evanhard? No, said de Selby firmly. But thou did heareth that when I just said it then. Heareth what? That I would imprisoneth Evanhard? Oh, that, said de Selby. I could forget I heard that. I'm a very forgetful person. Sometimes I forgetteth me own. Schwang! De Selby hadn't even finished his sentence before Jerbo turned him into a tiny bird and locked him in a little cage. Me and my big mouth, said the wizard villain to no one. He hadn't let his plan to imprison Evanhard slip at all, of course. He'd always meant to get rid of de Selby as soon as he had Merdyn's exact location. But you knew that already, didn't you? Shame de Selby didn't. Jerbo opened his spellbook and smiled. He flipped the pages with his thumbs. Watch out, future. Here the wicked wizard comes. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time for Chapter 29, Spells and Wise and Merchandise. Have a great week. Bye-bye.